Hi, welcome back to FPL IQ. I'm Rob, FPL Hall, joined again by Lucian, Teacher FPL. Today we're going to be looking at Bournemouth. Every team this preseason we're going to go through team guide, lineup, playstyle, how they set up, strengths and weaknesses, and top players to pick or avoid for every Premier League side. The Cherries are on the agenda today, but first, Lucian, how are you doing?
I'm again, Rob, and really, Bournemouth is all about value for money. Cannot wait to see how we can look at and how they build from their dynamics last season, especially under Gary O'Neill, with this new exciting manager of theirs, looking at where the gems are.
Yeah, let's see how sweet the Cherries are. Let's have a look at the predicted lineup. I believe that they're going to start with a 4-2-3-1 formation. And that's going to be Neto in goal, Smith, Zabarnyi, Senesi and Vina as the back four, Billing and Rothwell as the more holding midfielders, with Traore, 5 million Traore there in that cam position, I'm going to say. I think Tavernier is going to be on one wing, with new signing from Valencia, Cliver on the other, and of course, Talisman Solanke up front. So, Lucian, what are your thoughts on how Bournemouth are going to line up this season?
Bournemouth do have two things going for them. The first was the massive shopping spree they made in January, and then the key link to all of them, new manager Iraola. So really, it comes down to whether you believe a winger will be placed on the wings or whether you believe a central midfielder would be the one dictating play. See, the thing about Bournemouth traditionally is that we always think about how everything revolves around Solanke. Solanke is the playmaker. Solanke is the selfless aerial target that plays in Philip Billing and whoever that plays on the flanks. Well, with Iraola, it's kind of similar. The only difference is that instead of Solanke enabling just one player, his job now is to enable 4 different players. But really, the key transitions that Bournemouth have made this window really is about getting rid of their liabilities, and really so far they've not really filled in the gap in terms of who will strengthen those holes that have the people that have left. Jordan Zamora at left back is one. Jefferson Lerma in central midfield has left, and still there is no exact play style that we can see. And really, we are relying on Bournemouth's preseason to at least see if Bournemouth want to play on the front foot, dictate play as well as dominate possession, or will they be purely focused on the counter attack? Because when they play on a counter, their central midfielders are the superstars, and you will have just 1 to 2 really quick wingers all the way up front scoring the goals. Whereas if Bournemouth like to play on the front foot, especially at home, then you are looking at their wingers really linking up with Billing and Solanke up front. So at this stage, right now, we can at least assume that the wingers are the superstars. And based on track record, you're looking at the likes of Ouattara, if not Tavernier.
Yeah, I think Billing is a really, really important player, and like you said, a lot of people look towards Solanke as the key man, and he is the main striker. I don't think he's got a particular rival there, but Billing finished like 4 points behind Solanke last season, so I think people might undervalue his worth to the side. And he does tend to pick up the odd injury, but again, 5.5 million, he's a million cheaper than Solanke, which I think makes him a very good option. So, going into the strengths and weaknesses. So strengths for me, I just think they've got some cheap players in there. It did feel sort of like the Wilson Frazier vibes from years gone by, with the likes of 5 million for Traore, who has been with them for a while, but he's a little bit injury prone. Just the last season. I mean, that doesn't mean this season is going to be the same. And Cliver for 5 million as well. So I just feel like, whilst I'm not particularly attracted to Bournemouth, at least they're not overpriced. So if at some point in the season Bournemouth have a really nice run of fixtures and they're playing quite well under the new manager, it's not going to be difficult to get to those players if for some reason we end up with a bandwagon there. Any strengths that you have felt with the Bournemouth side?
First problem, or at least the first hurdle that they have to overcome, is second season syndrome. The thing about promoted sides, especially last season, is that they start really well and then they coast to a finish, right? Bournemouth barely got any wins. I mean, you can mention the same thing about Fulham and whatever promoted sides that that hit the 40-point mark really early. So at this stage, the first hurdle to second season syndrome is just changing something about their entire strategy. So hiring Iraola is definitely the perfect first move. I think what I can see so far is that their front four has a lot of diversity. Hamad Traore, for example, barely started towards the end of the season, but we know that he is a potential gem. There are so many players that can play in that crucial number 10 position just behind Solanke. I mean, even Solanke himself could play number 10, really. So, you're not just looking at Billing, Solanke, Hamad Traore, the likes of Semenyo, he's still around, and there are a host of central midfielders like even Ryan Christie and Tavernier himself that could all fill in. So at this stage, we are looking at the key principle of Iraola's verticality. The person that makes that crucial back to front run, whether on the ball or off the ball. Last season, that was Jaden Anthony from the left wing. But this season, well, it remains to be seen. So it's about whether they do it from the flanks or whether they do it centrally on the counter attack. For me, the weaknesses of this entire side is still mentality because Bournemouth will have to reckon that they are one of the underdogs in the league, hands down, no questions about it. So, will they try to be bold about it, like Vincent Company and Sheffield United have outwardly declared, or will they just be practical and secure 1-0 crucial wins because their fullbacks have not been strengthened, and we are looking at the likes of Smith and Kelly, who are decent fullbacks themselves, just not the ultra attacking dribbling type that we saw from Zamora.
Yeah, I think for weaknesses, I agree with what you said earlier as well about second season syndrome. Like, it seems like a cliche, right? When they say like, "Oh, being 2-0 up's the worst scoreline," or scoring just before halftime has an effect. It just feels like one of those cliches, but it does have some background of it being a thing. It has its own name, and I think changing the manager is a risky strategy, but it's one that might negate that problem of second season syndrome by bringing in a fresh manager. But it is also a weakness because he's an untested Premier League manager. Yes, he comes with a strong reputation from Spain with Rayo Vallecano, but can he install his perfect play style, one that he wants to put into Bournemouth? Does he have the players to do his system that he wants? And that's something that we're going to have to wait and see. So moving on to the player picks, top three. Now here's where we're going to completely differ because my top one here, I've still gone for Solanke, 6.5 million. One of the cheapest nail forwards you can get for 6.5. He's the talisman. Yes, he might play in the 10 or play a striker, but he's going to play. So if you are just looking for, a lot of us are going to play 3-5-2. If you're looking for a cheap second striker to go next to Haaland, I think 6.5 million Solanke isn't the worst option out there. Who's your number one pick for Bournemouth?
So, my number one pick, unfortunately, was their star of the show winger from last season, Ouattara. I think his very first game, he impressed so heavily where he was able to win his own aerial duels, run down the wing himself, and then supply an assist for the left winger. So, really, his performances have just not resulted in goals so far. But anybody that watches Bournemouth games would immediately pick Ouattara out, not just for his pace, but just for his tendency to use his pace at the right time on the flanks. So I'm really looking forward to him pushing on this season.
Yeah, I don't have him in the starting 11. He was where Clivert is now. So, of course, it is a possibility that he does make the 11. I just went on the fact that they have signed Clivert, and I think for that price, he's likely going to play. But again, wait for preseason. That's when we get more of an idea of a setup and players that might play a key role. Second, I have gone for Traore. I think he will be in that cam position, that number 10 position, for 5 million. If you're not going to play a 3-5-2, or you are playing 3-5-2 and you're scraping for that sort of fifth midfielder, and you don't see any good 4.5 million options, like there's no Anders Pereira this year in the 4.5 category. I think in that attacking role, if he can stay fit, I think 5 million is a good option for him. Who's your second option for this?
To be honest, after Ouattara, it's really slim pickings because the rest of the squad tend to be shifted around the pitch by Gary O'Neill last season, at least positionally. Hamid Traore started as a number 10, but when Gary O'Neill shifted to more defensive 4-5-1s and 3-5-1-1s, Hamid Traore was the one that was sacrificed, put on the left flank sometimes. If not, he would be the selfless number 10 that would go around harrying defenders and defensive midfielders. To be honest, that trait would probably secure him a starting spot inside Iraola's side, because unlike other managers who like employing man-to-man press or a full-on high block, Iraola's playstyle actually adapts to his opponents, and that's why he was so successful at Vallecano. His four-man slash five-man pressing system not only involves his wingbacks or his fullbacks, he also has the number 10 doing a fantastic job of harassing the second centre back, if not the opposition defensive midfielder. That crucial connection centrally that is becoming so popular all across Europe is now being basically man marks, kind of like how Andres Herrera did for Man United when he just man marked Eden Hazard out of the game. It's exactly to that style, and the rest of the team adapts. So while he's nailed, I do feel that the biggest benefactor of a high press is Philip Billing. That would be my second choice because in the end, you're still looking for a proven goal scorer, and Billing will prove straight away from the outset that he has goals in him. At least, in my opinion, compared to the left winger, Jadon Anthony, at this stage.
Yeah, I think we talked about Billing before and the fact that he only just finished behind Solanke, and I don't see him particularly changing this season. I just don't. You said earlier it's slim pickings. I don't see Bournemouth as a particularly great team to target for the prices, even though they're quite reasonable. I think most prices in FPL this year are very reasonable, and there's nothing pulling me towards Bournemouth. So as we get to the third picks, I've just gone for Neto. The notes here, I've literally typed scraping the barrel because I expect him to concede a lot, but I also expect him to concede a lot of chances, probably concede a lot of shots and shots on targets. So 4.5 million for the goalkeeper and Neto. He was 12th for starts. He only started 27 games because of joining the club, but he finished 7th for saves. So I imagine he's going to be the star goalkeeper. They're going to concede a lot of chances, and he's probably going to get a lot of save points, but I don't believe there's going to be a lot of clean sheets. Which probably links to what your third choice is for Bournemouth and who you going for here.
I've also picked a defender, but I'm not optimistic about it, at least until we see that Bournemouth have a decent track record at home. Because really, when you pick a defender or some sort of defense from teams in the bottom half, you either rotate them or you know that they will pull off epic performances against the top half, right? So at this stage, I've picked Lloyd Kelly, who spent a lot of the beginning of last season injured because he was supposed to be Bournemouth's best centre back. He was their marquee signing when they got promoted, I believe. So at this stage, he plays at left back because Senesi has established that centre back spot alongside Cook. And Kelly has this wonderful diagonal pass, either from centre back or from left back. He goes left to right, and he's actually better, ironically, at finding Kiefer Moore than Solanke in the box. But I can definitely foresee Iraola molding him into a high-pressing wingback that will at least get some sort of assist potential in the early season, while Iraola's tactics are underrated. So that would be my third pick, Lloyd Kelly.
And in terms of avoid, for me, I've just said the whole team. We've made it pretty clear that they're cheap, but they're cheap for a reason. I don't particularly see them as. I don't think many people will be starting with a lot of Bournemouth players, to be honest. But here's where we differ, because my first pick was Solanke, and your trap for Bournemouth is
Solanke himself. This is not going to sit well with a lot of content creators because Bournemouth do look like they have a proven record at scoring goals at the very least. The question really just comes down to dynamics, and we are projecting a lot into the far future. So at this stage, I would rather buy goal scorers than facilitators. Whereas a lot of people, I suspect, will believe that Solanke will be their main goal scorer. So that is where we differ, and I'm perfectly happy with making the prediction at this stage.
So out of 10, in terms of the lineup, the play style, the players to pick for FPL, I've put them down as a 5 out of 10. They're cheap. but they're not particularly great. I don't think there's anyone in there that's going to attract me. In terms of the fixtures to start the season, I always look at the first 8 games because I'm probably going to wildcard within those 8 games. They're fourth from bottom on the fixture ticker. They've got Liverpool, Spurs, Brentford, Chelsea, Brighton, Arsenal in the first 8. So personally, I'm going to give this team a 5 out of 10 in terms of attractability for FPL. What do you think you'd give them out of 10?
I'd go way lower. There are too
Way
many question
lower.
marks that will bring about a positive outcome, whether it's the manager, the starting 11, fixtures. Yeah, they've just got absolutely nothing going for them. And to be honest, perhaps that's a good thing because it lets us allow them to have that period up to the international break. I think when the transfer deadline closes, that's when we really see Bournemouth shine, and we're okay to leave it at that. Really, let their prices drop a little bit. Maybe we can pick up some undervalued gems at that stage.
I will say 5 out of 10 is still like the lowest score I've given any Premier League team, so I'm just being generous with 5. Thank you for watching today's video on our guide to Bournemouth. Are the Cherries your top pick, or are they going to be a team to avoid at the start of the season? Let us know in the comments below. Do you think the 5 million-ish players are worth their value? Do you think that defense can keep clean sheets? I don't think we're particularly confident with that. Do you think Solanke is going to be worth that 6.5 million price tag, or is he a trap? Let us know who you like from Bournemouth in the comments below. As always, have a good one.